recording. Jill, do you have a question? Are you nervous? Alright. Don't forget. Alright, for those who showed up today, thank you very much. This is EMS Charts training. I know some of you are basically saying, why do we have to do this again? Because I already know how to write a perfect chart without putting respirations in. But just so you know, Steve Herzig, our reserve member, ex-captain, he took over the role of QAing our charts, QA, quality assurance. Does anybody know what that is?
Make sure it meets quality.
Assure that it makes quality, right? Quality assurance. Has anybody ever been QA'd before?
Yeah.
Yeah? How do you know if you've been QA'd?
You get a flag.
You get a flag, right? And what does that flag mean?
There's something wrong with your chart.
Okay. Is that flag a bad thing?
I mean, it's not a good thing.
It's not a bad thing. It's just saying something is missing on the chart. Please address it before we lock it through and send it to the state. You're not in trouble. You know, it's not saying like, oh, you know, you got a flag, oh, you're a bad person, this and that. It just means, hey, you missed something, please address it, etc. Now, if we flag you on something, let's say missed respirations, and every chart for 6 months straight you get flagged for missed respirations, you may get disciplinary action because it's like you're not learning and you're not addressing this and that. All right. Clinically wise, if Steve goes ahead and flags you, he might flag you for a clinical decision, meaning something popped up and he wants to just know more information as to why you made the decision or maybe why you didn't contact somebody you should have, etc. So you have to explain that. He might come down on the night you're riding, discuss with the crew, or just reach out to you and talk to you that way. If he doesn't do it, he'll reach out to the officers, either Lacer or Dieterman, and maybe they'll reach out to you, or you know, he might reach out to me and I'll reach out to you. All right, so somebody will talk to you about this chart and why it's wrong. If you get flagged and you have no idea what Steve's talking about and you're not sure what's wrong with it, and whatever reason, reach out to an EMS officer and they'll help you decipher it. All right. So what we ended up doing was with that. Steve went in EMS Charts. He's making a couple changes to it, especially the outlay of it. So you might notice some things are missing, some things are added. You might know when you go to log the chart, some things are going to get flagged before you lock it, saying this is an important thing, you have to lock it. You might notice some things get changed the other way. Some things are going to get flagged even if you think they're stupid in order to lock it. But that's not Steve, that's the Nemesis thing. It's the Nemesis of the state code. They do it. There's no way to change that. All right? So you go onto EMS Charts, right? And we see this box pop up. The simplest thing is you just sign in, correct? First thing you're going to do is for the unit is ensure you put you and your partner's name in, right? So Gina put my partner. You put the unit you're in, the station, the base, unit type is BLS, shift is duty crew, and then you click on patient records, correct? Everybody knows how to do that? So if I want to start a new chart, what do I do? Click new, right? What does this button do? Has anybody ever touched this button? Huh? So right now you see the little sun? You click it, it just turns to like night mode and makes it bright.
Oh my god. The computer setting, the display is so dim.
Oh, one of those laptops? Yeah, I have no clue why it
And like
does
even
that.
if you manually kind of brighten it, doesn't work.
Yeah, it says it's all the way bright and it's still like,
Well, I think Brian fixed that.
I fixed it so it should be good. Yeah, I'm not sure why that was.
Yeah,
That was annoying.
because I think they pulled out of the chart, so now it's going to be back on. You know.
So we start a new chart, we hit new, prorates a chart, and it opens up, right? So notice these fields are already filled in. Why are they already filled in? Because we filled them in already on the unit page, right? So that makes it easy, okay? When you go down, can somebody tell me the difference between dispatch jazz and category?
Dispatch jazz is what comes through when it's dispatched, and category is like when you go there.
Dispatch jazz is what comes over the pager, right? So if they say sick person, dispatch jazz is a sick person. If they say chest pain, dispatch jazz is a chest pain. Category is what actually is going on. So can there be a type of call that you go on where the dispatch as a category are different? Yes, right? Because sometimes you get dispatched for a chest pain, you get there and it's a sick person. Or you get dispatched as unconscious and you get there and they're conscious, alert, and maybe they're just sick. All right? So let's say abdominal pain. Notice how when I select category, automatically fills the dispatch status. Why it does that, I'm not too sure. So just be careful if you go ahead and do that and it changes it, you change it back. Because you don't want to be like, okay, well, it's a trauma spinal cord, and then, you know, the category was unconscious, and then it changes it like that. So just be careful, make sure you note that, and you separate that. What's outcome mean? What did you do with this patient? Did you transport him? Did you leave him at home? Did you take him to the movies? What did you do with this guy? Right? So assist EMS. What do you think assist EMS means?
If you assist another EMS.
If you assist another EMS unit. So let's say there's 2 crews on tonight, right? One crew goes for a cardiac arrest. They call for help from the fire department. And you guys decide, hey, we're not doing anything. We're already in station. Let's go. You drive over. You create a charge just saying you assisted EMS. Canceled en route. You start responding, you get canceled by dispatch en route. Canceled on scene. You get there, police officer walks up to you, oh, sorry, this is not a patient, it's a police issue, you guys are canceled. You're canceled on scene. Or respond to this for the patient that's down on the ground on the sidewalk. You get there, you can't find this patient, you look around, nowhere to be found, you're canceled on scene, there's no patient contact. Cancel prior to response. You get toned out by the time you finish eating your chicken, and you wipe your face, and you go to the ambulance, dispatch hits you out again and says, you know what, disregard, you cancel. Right? Dead at scene. You get there, and obviously it's like a pronouncement, so you'd have to call ALS, so it's dead at scene. Fire call is your normal fire call. Fire rehab assignment is a fire rehab assignment. Patient refused care is going to be your RMAs, thank you. Pronouncement, what's the difference between dead on scene and pronouncement?
If you go, when you go there, you see CPR and then.
Good. So pronouncement, you work up, and then the ALS pronounce. Dead at scene is dead at scene, nothing you can do. What's public relations? Should we ever see public relations? No. All right, we don't use that here. All right, public relations would be like if you do like a standby for like a parade or something like that, but right underneath it, look how you see standby. So we're just going to do standby, right? Transported by BLS. So you transport them to the hospital, regular transported by BLS. Transported by BLS, ALS canceled prox. What does that mean?
Cancel the ALS because you're too far.
Cancel ALS proximity because they're too far. So, semi-ALS, this patient has chest pains. You start going to the hospital because we're not going to wait on scene for ALS, right? So en route to the hospital, you're about a block away from Robert Wood, and then you're like, well, where's my ALS unit? Oh, they passed you and they're already on the highway. You're not going to pull over and wait for them to turn around back on the highway. Cancel the proximity. Or let's say they're on their way and they're coming down Metlers, but you already started transporting to JFK. What are you going to do? You're going to cancel the proximity, right? You're not going to stop and wait. You just keep going to the hospital. And then you can always radio on the radio and be like, hey, they're going to be chasing us. Do you have an ALS unit coming out of JFK that can meet us? Because then they'll run into you, correct? You do that as well. BLS cancel SNN. What does that mean? Service is not needed. Very good. So, you get on scene for a chest pain. It turns out to be one of those regular sick patients, and you don't need the ALS. You cancel them. Service is not needed. ALS released. That means you went on scene, the ALS did their triage, their assessment, they hooked them up to the monitor, and then they released the care back to you guys to transport solo to the hospital. ALS treat. Simple enough, right? They treated. That means they rode with you en route to the hospital. ALS unavailable. You need ALS for this call. You requested them. Dispatch says you're unavailable. All right? That's very important to put because if you have an ALS patient and they're not available, and you just put transported by BLS, and it does get, go to court, whatever reason, the biggest thing they're going to ask you is, well, where was your ALS? Oh, I requested them. Well, nowhere does it say you requested ALS. It says you just went solo. All right? Yes?
Do you fill out a chart for standbys if there's no patients at the standby?
Anytime you do a standby or whatnot, it's the simplest chart you could probably write. You literally just click no patient. Outcome's going to be standby. You just put in the time that you started, the time that you ended, and BLS stood by for parade. In case of any patients, no patients reported. Done. All right? Yes?
Do we have an AMA option?
No. We do not have an AMA option. I could ask Steve if we can add one. Does anybody know what AMA means?
Against medical advice?
Against medical advice. So you have your patient refuse care, meaning they say, no, I don't want to go to the hospital. It's they bang their finger and somebody called for them and they really don't need to go. But then you have the patient who's having a heart attack and chest pains and, but they're 8 times 4, they can still RMA, correct? and they RMA, that even the paramedics are there, and they say, look, I see that you're having a heart attack on this monitor, you should go to the hospital. If they still say no because they are ANO times 4, they can refuse. That's called AMA, against medical advice. All right? I would just sign the RMA, the refusal care, and just know it's against medical advice, and just document appropriately stating you just explained all the reasons, et cetera, this and that, and so on and so forth. I'll get more into that in a little bit. But if you want, I can also ask Steve to add an AMA option. Mass casualty. So this presets to not reported. You know how I know? Because 90% of the people have charts that say not reported for mass casualty. So what's a mass casualty?
When there's more patients than your crew can,
More patients than my crew what?
when your crew can more resources.
You have more patients than resources.
Yes, more patients than resources. That's the key. Why do you think that's the key?
Because that is the max.
You can't treat everyone.
Madison, do you remember that motor vehicle accident we had? The car off of Metlers and Stelton? The cop car and the other car? How many patients did we have?
30.
We had 3 patients from the one vehicle. Is that a mass casualty?
I mean, depends on the patient.
Depends on the patients, right? So these guys were walking over, they were conscious, alert, they walked over to us, right? We sat them on the bench seat, we transported them to the hospital, all right? So Madison was in the back by herself, however, they were all patients that weren't critical, all right? She was able to document all their information. Yes, it's 3 patients, 3 charts, it's a pain, I understand that, but change the story. One's unconscious, one needs more attention, this and that. Okay, it's a different story. We're going to need more resources, correct? Then that becomes a mass casualty. But if they're all walking, talking, perfectly fine, just want to go to the hospital for a little bump and bruises. If Madison can handle those 3 patients, we're going to handle the 3 patients. We're not going to tie up another resource when we can just take them all to the same hospital and everything's cool and collective. All right? So in that situation, no. If one was unconscious or more significantly injured, yes. So it depends on your crew, etc. The key thing is more patients than your resources. All right? So we'll say we have 1 patient here, so we'll say no. No. CAD number. What's the CAD number? The number that comes into the text message. Who here is hooked up to the text messages and gets the CAD numbers in the scenes? All right, so pretty much everybody. So you can refer back to that. And if you, for whatever reason, you get the text message or you can't find it or you accidentally deleted it, how do we get the CAD number? How do we call them? Where's the hotline? The red phone, right? Right by the EMS office. You pick it up, it's going to go directly to dispatch, right? They're going to pick up and they're going to say, hello. And you're going to say, hi, I'm so-and-so from Burstone. You're like, we know. They know who's calling. All right? So you just request the CAD number. Unit type is BLS, should always be BLS. Shift, you should know that if you're the duty crew. Second call comes in, you can know that you're a scramble crew for a second call. You're the second duty crew. Day call, you answer a call during the day. Second call daytime, very rare, but it happens. EMS 1, if you respond as a supervisor to EMS 1, or if it's just a standby, predetermined scheduled standby. So like you do with football games or stuff like that. Vehicle grid. What's the vehicle grid?
Where your cup is coming out of.
Where the ambulance is at the time of the dispatch, right? So where the ambulance is. 9 times out of 10 should be North Stelton District, unless you're getting dispatched from, you clear it from the hospital and you're coming back off of 18, something like that, etc. So ambulance transport code. Do we need these? No, we don't need these, all right? We don't need these at this time. So what I should show you is on my other side here, right? That would probably be beneficial. What's going to assist you guys with flags and the new QA thing, we created a QA assessment guide for EMS Charts. So you should be filling out any boxes you possibly can, etc., and fill out charts completely. I know some people miss some things, they don't think it's important, or they just, miss it completely. So this basically outlines 3 different categories: critical, best practice, and not required. Critical means it's critical. It should be in your chart. If it's not, you're going to get flagged. All right? Best practice means you should probably put it in your chart. You should most likely put it in your chart, especially for certain calls that you deal with, then it should definitely be in your chart. You might not get flagged on it depending on what it is, but if you get flagged for a critical, they will add in the best practice. Make sense? Not required means it's not required. So for page 1, notice how critical is like CAD number, crew with roles, base, unit staffing, etc., all that good stuff. Best practice is the other type under referring. Now notice how some things are missing, because not everything is listed on the EMS Charts mobile, right? So you know when you upload it, you then have to go on the online version to complete it, sign it, and lock it. I can tell some of you guys upload it, go right to page 9, sign it, and lock it, and think it's done, but it's not. All right, some things don't generate on the mobile, so you have to make sure you go through each page again, make sure you're not missing anything, fill it in, and then upload it from there, okay? So we'll go over that on the online version, and we'll go through the criticals and all that other good stuff that we go through, all right? Next is vehicle. This is the odometer. Do we have to put these miles in for the odometer? What's this? Maybe. What's maybe?
Oh,
When do we do, when do we don't?
like if you're transporting certain kinds of patients.
What are those type of patients?
Mostly you think like if you're transporting a minor without, and like the cops on board because they didn't have parents or whatever. Same sex crews, like 2 males transporting a female patient.
Yes. So we don't use the odometer because the odometer is mainly used for billing, right? They bill per mile, this and that. We don't bill, we're 100% volunteer, so we don't do the odometer. The only thing I would suggest to put the odometer for is those special case scenarios, because God forbid something happens and the patient complains, you could show, well, look, no, we went from the scene to the thing, it only takes 3 miles, we went 3 miles, we got there in a timely manner within 10 minutes, as it says it's supposed to take. So obviously we didn't pull over, we didn't stop, we didn't go a different direction, we didn't do anything, crazy. Psych patients, that police aren't on board, you might want to do. Unaccompanied minors, definitely. Or a good one she mentioned was same-sex crews with opposite-sex patient. So 2 male members and a female patient, or 2 female patients and a male patient, crew members and a male patient, something like that, just to document the miles, and nothing seems sufficient. All right, it just better protects yourselves. Crew, something you're going to get flagged on are roles. You got to make sure you put in the roles: driver to response, to transport, other caregiver scene, primary caregiver scene. This, make sure you note down the crews for your EMTs and whatnot. Certifications, you should be able to mark that he's an EMTB certification if they are. If not, you put them under the other portion here, correct? Yes?
Back to this, under best practice on the other side. Requester, is that always going to be this guy in the police department?
No.
Okay, what is that?
So the Piscataway Police Department dispatches us, right? But the requester would be, you walk into a residence, who called 911? The wife goes, oh, I called for my husband, he's not acting right. Have you been putting the Piscataway Police Department for every single patient?
Every single part.
That's fine. It's just best practice. The main thing for that, the only reason why it's in best practice, some people leave it blank. It comes in handy because you might get a psych patient or another patient who RMAs or might not want anything to do with EMS as well. Who called 911? Oh, the family member. And then you find out that the family member's actually mad at them, and they're only using his psych history against them to try to make him go away type deal. So it's stuff like that. Play it by ear, all right? And if you need to, you can put in the requester, who called 911, etc.
So very rarely it's the
Piscataway PD would be if you're going to police headquarters because of the psych patient. If there's a psych patient or a drug patient, will Piscataway PD call to request you to the scene? You can do that. Like if you go to 7-Eleven for the intoxicated patient, the 7-Eleven employee didn't call the ambulance for the intoxicated patient. He called the police to remove the intoxicated patient, which then the police called 911. Went from there, okay? Make sense?
Yeah.
Referring, receiving. Referring means where you pick the patient up from, and receiving is where you drop them off at, right? So if you click on the name here, it's going to ask, what kind of amusement park, art gallery, best way to describe what building you're in as possible, all right? You can also click on the little tab itself and it pops up in a scroll down box like that. Location. This top box here is the location, the business name, all right? It's not the start of the address, it's the business name. Address line 1 is the start of the address. Got it? Milepost, major roadway, you could put for like a abandoned road or a cross or on the highway, you want to put the mile marker, give a better idea where this accident's at. And then put in the city, the state, the zip code, etc. If you click on this location tab here, what pops up? 7-Eleven, Arbor, Burger King. What does that look like? Some places in the city of Piscataway, right? And what happens if I click on one? Let's say Motel 6. Oh, the address is already there. All right? Isn't that fancy? Too bad not all the places in Piscataway are in there. Yes?
When you get a car crash, accident, and you get like 2 streets, which ones do you put where? Do you just
So-
put
I would put address line 1. You can just put like Mellors Lane and Stellan Road. You can put all in address line 1. You can put one in address line 1, one in address line 2. All right? But then you just leave the top blank. Got it? So with this location thing, we could have more in. We just got to sit down, and it's very tedious. But maybe one day we'll have the officers sit down and actually go through and start adding everything else. All right? But your main big ones are there. What? Your main big ones are there. Walmart. I guess I was hungry when I started doing this because all the food places are there.
Harvard Hose
I made sure I put all the fire companies and stuff, right?
Yeah.
What does mode mean?
how you went first?
How you went, right? So lights and sirens, no lights, no sirens, initial no lights, upgraded, non-emergent, stuff like that. All right, any questions about that? Scene grid. Scene grid is where the call is, all right? Like what district. So Arbor district, this and that, if it's in Edison, if it's other, if it's anywhere else, all right? So let's most likely put, Arbor district here. Mode descriptors, right? It's basically the same thing and they want you to do it again.
We have
What?
both.
Yeah. Because one, I think, is a Nemesis code, which will flag you on it. I don't know which one, so just knock out both. Don't worry about census tract. And then we go to the hospital. You should be transporting to the emergency department. If you go up here, our pre-selected hospitals are here. The only time you might go to a hospital that's not on here, it could happen. And then what happens? How do we find that hospital? Search. Name. Now, let me see if I can do this right. All right, so when you do it on the online version, I don't know if it's not working here because I don't have a full connection or what, but if you do it on the online version, you might have to, when you do a search, do the percentage sign, all right? And then just type in a percentage sign. And then it searches for that name, and then you scroll down based off of your search topic. All right? For this class, we're going to click JFK. It already fills in. Mode, how did you go to the hospital? Destination basis, why did you go to this hospital? So the main things you want to look at here, did you go because it was a burn center? Did you go because it was the closest facility? Did you go here because it was a diversion? Maybe they want to go somewhere else, but they chose here because of diversion. EMS crew choice, family choice, don't worry about insurance status, law enforcement choice. Patient's choice should be the most used option because you should always go where the patient asks, as long as it's one of the 4 possibles that they choose. Yes, Alicia?
For mode, can you, so even if you go no lights, no sirens, can it still be emergent? Or would you just put non-emergent? I usually put emergent and then in mode descriptors put no lights, no sirens.
If you put no lights, no sirens, but put emergent as a status, I would just document appropriately in your activity log. Because sometimes you have a guy having a full-blown stroke, but the ALS is like, no lights, no sirens, right? They think you don't know how to properly use them. So I would say that's pretty emergent, right? But they don't want you to go lights and sirens, so I'll just document, ALS requesting no lights and sirens. I mean, they usually do that when it's especially like 2 in the morning. They don't want you screaming through intersections for no reason. They'd rather you take it easy where they could like establish IV retreat rather than you hitting every single pothole through sending them in the air, driving like a bat out of hell. So that would be a reason why I would put that. Why would we go to a different hospital than the ones we pre-selected in this nice little category box here?
Like an organ transplant, and had an issue with their organ, and you go back to the hospital, they got an organ transplant.
All right, so
Other cases, they have a complicated medical situation that they have to go to a specific facility that dealt with their medical situation.
a couple situations. One of those is what she was kind of getting at. If you have a patient who has a specific medical condition that they always get treated at, let's say, Random Bay Old Bridge, your doctor's there, they know their entire history, they've done 27,000 surgeries on this person for that same thing, you might want to take them back to the same hospital that have been working on this patient, right? If ALS is with you, if you are going to transport to a different hospital, though, you have to contact the EMS officers just so they know, all right? Don't just transport wherever you want to go. Road trip to California. So, if you have ALS on board, sometimes they choose another hospital based off of what's going on with the patient because that other hospital might be better to treat them. So let's say Robert Wood's on a diver for trauma and this patient really needs a trauma center. The ALS, if they're with you, might say, hey, let's take the trip up to University, the next closest trauma center, because they're going to be able to do better for this patient. Yeah, it's a little longer, but in the end, they'll be able to better help this patient rather than us going to a non-trauma center. All right? So you would just know, ALS was on board this and that. Sometimes they go up to Overlook for stroke patients, right? So it depends on, as long as ALS is with you, you can do that. Now, if ALS is not coming with you, you just explain to the family, hey, there's 4 closer hospitals. We take you to the closest, most appropriate hospital. St. Peter's, Robert Wood, both can treat whatever's going on here today, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. If a patient's burned, you'll take them to St. Barnabas, unless the burn interferes with the airway. Airway is compromised. Then you take them to the closest, most appropriate facility, which would be most likely Robert Wood, the trauma center, right? So you do go to different hospitals. Another big one is LVAD patients. They have the machine, the LVAD. They're supposed to go back to the hospital they got the LVAD. So we actually have one here in the district that got it in New York Presbyterian, so we would have to transport to New York Presbyterian. Now, that's only if they're having an issue with their LVAD. If they bang their toe on the coffee table, they want to go to the hospital because their little pinky toe hurts, you're not going to take them to New York Presbyterian because it has nothing to do with their LVAD. Make sense? Okay. Any questions about that? Yes.
Comment. So destination basis isn't like a critical, I don't think, but I would put it under like best practice if a hospital's on like divert and a patient like really insists on going there, just so if their care is delayed, you're like, well, we told you they were on divert and you still chose to go there.
What do you say? Destination? Oh,
It would be it's on the first page, yeah.
oh, it's under not required?
No, it's not there at all. I'd put it under best practice. Or
Oh,
no,
it's there.
basis is there, yeah.
All right.
But like really like document that too, because a lot of patients will be like, oh, it's gonna be, or like I want to go there, all my doctors are there, and
All right,
then
so
they
document why, if not patient choice. Good. All right, so if you look up here, there's other tabs, right? What do those tabs mean? We got hospital EMS, and then we have EMS other. Referring. It should always be other, right? Because hospital means we are picking up from a hospital. Does that ever happen? No. Okay? When might that happen? Yes.
you like transport a family member or like a member's
Yes.
family.
So sometimes we transport a family member of the fire company. They'll call up and say, hey, or like a member ourselves, hey, I need a ride. We had our deceased member, Paul Vasauskas, he was a life member. He used to go to Robert Wood for some treatments. Then he'd call us, we'll help him out, we'll take them back, all right? If you take him in an ambulance, you might want to just do a quick chart, just basically saying, you don't have to do like symptoms, signs, HPI, this, that. Just basically, We just transported them back home, etc., rearranged, all. So that's when it'll be hostile to, another address, EMS, when do we do that? I know a couple crews have done that in the past recently.
Is this if like another EMS crew is already taking care of your patient, but you get on the scene to take care?
Let's say another ambulance picks up a patient, they're driving through Piscataway, right, going to the hospital. Ambulance breaks down, and they get into an accident. They can't transport that patient anymore. They call us, we go up. We're taking care from the EMS agency, and then we're going to continue transporting. Make sense? Yes.
What happens if like an ambulance is on scene before you get on scene, and they're already like, treating the patient, but they want you to transport it?
Drive by like this. Then you don't see them, keep going.
Is that the same?
You said they're already treating?
Yeah. Like
So if they're already treating, they made patient contact, they should have a chart for this patient. They have made patient contact. That means they should be making a chart for this. All right? So I would get so you would then, they should be asking you for a transfer of care signature. If not, that's on them. But you would document that you received it from the X amount of whatever rescue squad, and then you transfer it to the hospital. Okay? Now, receiving. When would we bring them to another EMS agency? If the opposite happens, right? If, let's say, you get on scene and you have too many patients, but you made patient contact, you would then say you transfer the patient over to the other thing. All right? If you do that, you would then, instead of the nurse's signature, you would have somebody from the crew that you transfer the care to of equal or higher certification, right? So another EMT would sign, saying that they took care of the patient and document appropriately. Other. What else would be the other for receiving?
The house, like the patient family.
If you do that transport for a family member back to the house, it would be the other. What else for EMS besides an ambulance?
Airplane.
That's not an airplane! What airplane flies like that? Working on that one. Yes, a helicopter, right? North Star. All right? If you have a patient that has to be helicoptered out because you're too far away, you would then transfer here to North Star, not an airplane.
Gina, did you say that?
Did you say that?
Yeah.
What?
Wait, Jerry, can you press on the EMS tab?
So it has some of them already put in. You might have to search for North Star. Oh, look, there you go.
It is so big.
No, it's not right.
Sorry.
Okay, the patient page. What are we looking for on the patient page?
Patient's information.
Patient's information, right? Add, edit. You start adding in the information. What you can also do before you do add, edit is patient search. Why?
It might be in there.
It might be in there already, right? If you do the last name, the first name, date of birth, and do a search, if we took them already, it's going to pop up, all right? They pop up, you click on them, you're good to go. Don't click on any of those, it just gives you boxes that you don't need. So add, edit, you select all the information. What are we looking for here?
Last name, first name, address,
Date of birth.
gender.
Everything you have listed under critical? Yes, pretty much, right? Everything under the critical section over here. All right, last name, first name, full address, sex, gender, date of birth, medical history, medications, allergies, weight, barriers to care. All right, best practice, social if you get it, height, if they have a DNR, phone number, race, obtained from. Why would obtained from be best practice? If it's obtained from a family member, right? Because that way, if you obtain the information, and all of a sudden, the patient's unconscious, you got from the family member, he has a history of A, B, and C, you get to the hospital's like, he doesn't have this stuff. It just documents where you got the information from. So. Not required in census tract, immunizations. If you're walking around, if you find a patient, they pull out of their pocket their immunizations sheet from like middle school. They're like, oh yeah, I got all my shots. I mean, good for you. You can put them in, I guess, but it's not required. Employer, physician's email, like we don't need the patient's email. Subscriber, emergency info form, we really don't do that stuff. I think subscriber's like an insurance thing. You should ask your patient their weight. What I like to do is first I just like kind of go quickly so it's not embarrassing. So just go, okay, your birthday, okay, your height and your weight. So it seems like you're just asking the normal questions because at the hospital, what are they going to ask? The height and the weight, right? So you don't need the height, but you at least put the weight in. Because what are they going to ask at the hospital? Oh, weight. So at least you know instead of walking in and going, I don't know, 200 pounds? You put them on the scale and they're 300. Now let's say you get a patient and they say that they weigh 200 pounds. What does that mean? Add 100, because they always lie. There's been a bunch of times where I do have a patient and they say, you know, a number, and you're just looking like, like I weigh that much, and you're definitely like, you could sit on me type thing, right? So, you document what the patient says, right? Document what this says, and then when they get to the hospital, you throw them on the scale, and you're like, give them a nasty look as you change it, right? No, don't do that.
Do you round up?
Huh?
Do you round up usually?
I base it on whatever. Yeah.
Wait, how then?
Sometimes you get the I don't know, 140, 150, 150. Right? Right here, everybody pay attention. Barriers to care. The big one. Most of the time it's going to be unnoted, right? But if there's some kind of barrier, you got to note it. Why is this very important? Because if you don't put barriers to care, and I'm your partner, and you're like, the chart's done, and then I have to go back and put a barrier to care because it won't lock without the barriers to care, right? Because it's a nemesis thing. So make sure you put barriers to care. And don't tell me that the chart's done if there's no barriers to care. Meds, history, allergies. You can go through, select them all. We'll go over that when we post it up. CMS payment, you don't have to worry about. Chief complaint, what's the chief complaint?
Abdominal.
Oh, it's always
Yeah, I know. It's what the patient most complains about. But everybody for Gina's abdominal pain. Oh, you have a chest pain? Yeah. All right. Duration of complaint, is this important? Yes. For your stroke patients, right? Stuff like that. Anatomic location, important?
Yes.
Is it important?
Yeah.
If it has something to do with an anatomic location, yeah, sure. But if I'm having the sniffles, what am I supposed to check? Global. Secondary complaint. What's the secondary complaint?
Second complaint.
If they have a second complaint, you put it, right? History of the present illness. What goes here?
The events like leading up to the call.
The history of the present illness, correct? The events leading up to. What were they doing when this started? Basically, your sample and your OPQRST, not the IPAR. I mean, you can put the IPAR if they do it, right? Their interventions. That all goes in here, okay? So what they're complaining about, what they were doing beforehand, what's going on, their signs, their symptoms, everything, their radiations, their OP, the Q, the R, the STI, whatever, right? Everything they complain about this thing is going in the HPI. Let's say you take a set of vitals. Does that go in here? No. Let's say you give them oral glucose in here. Let's say you walk into the stretcher in here.
I changed it.
Anything you do, treatment, movement, anything you do goes in the activity log, all right? So, one of the bigger things that Steve's going to be looking for, all right, you're not going to get flagged on it every time, but it's one of those things we're going to try to improve and get you guys to do, is put the stuff in the right areas of the chart, okay? Because some people just go on and on narrative-wise, everything in the HPI, and then some people for the HPI go, patient had abdominal pain, and then in the activity log is like, right? So, make sure, just like that, right?
Yeah, do it.
You're not supposed to copy paste.
That's what you guys are
That's how I was taught.
Wait, time out, what?
Copy and paste it.
would like write a lot of stuff like HPI, and then I would copy and paste and break it up and put it in my activity log. So basically, I just have both.
Same logic.
But I have.
I'm gonna show you guys-
There wasn't any information missing.
I'm gonna show you guys a practice chart that I worked on.
I used to do it like that.
After
Jeff knows really, no, don't do it like that, do it like
All right, so
So I was like, okay, I'm doing that.
impression diagnosis, right? System, what system does it involve? Cardiovascular, CNS, central nervous system, neuro, etc. Symptoms, select everything, check off everything that involves symptoms-wise. Impression, check off everything as impression. What's the difference between symptoms and impression?
Symptoms is what they're
Symptoms is what they're feeling. What's the impression?
what you see.
What you see, your general impression, right? Condition at destination. Dead, improved, unchanged, right? Reason for encounter, injury, non-injury, drugs or alcohol, alcohol and drugs, etc. Initial patient acuity. How do we determine this? Yes, Jillian.
I'll just ask you a question now. So, you know how it says injury trauma, and then you fill out like a separate thing about fall and everything like that. On my chart, that is not even existing. Like that's not even there. And it is injury trauma, so I can't fill out like the additional details, but the chart will let me walk down.
Do you know where to find the additional details?
Yeah, I know. It's just not there. On that specific
Jill, when
chart.
did you try?
Every other chart, when did I try?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like when was this chart?
This is like, last month's chart.
What?
Last month's.
When did you like log on to try?
I
Because I know
tried-
Steve was making some changes and it
I'll
might
check
have been
again.
because of that, so just try again.
Okay, I'll check.
Let's take a look after this class. All right, drugs, alcohol, you noted, initial patient activity, all right? It has like 101, don't worry about it, all right? It's not required. What is missing here that pops up when you upload this chart?
Oh, it's alcohol and the reasons for encounter. I just say like.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's still here.
Drug and alcohol.
Yeah, drug and alcohol. If you say like none, they ask you what
It'll
reason.
pop up what kind of drug or alcohol indicators are there. Also, condition at destination, I think there's initial patient acuities here. It pops up with one at like the end condition or whatever, right? So make sure you mark that off. Now, if it's a cardiac arrest, now you have to click here and you have to click through all these cool fun tabs, right? And you got your cardiac arrest. Who witnessed it? Cardiac etiology. You just put that in, right? If it's a drowning, a drug overdose, electrocution. Initial rhythm, do not worry about. We don't do rhythms, right? CPR started by, etc., blah, 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 this and that. Defib type. So this seems like a lot, right, to do while you're trying to do CPR. And I guess you can like break out a notepad and a pen and kind of do it too. Well, I'm going to show you an easy way. If you know you have a CPR, you can just say quick actions, cardiac arrest. Throw this laptop by you, boom, start CPR. You're doing compressions, right?
What is that? Quick action. Quick action?
Quick actions at the bottom here. All right, then you select cardiac arrest. Hold on, right? And then, you got the BVM going? Boom. Oral airways in, boom. Right? You're doing your compressions as you're doing this. What else you got? Oh, we got them on oxygen, boom. Keep going. Okay, AD shock, boom. Go back to compressions, right? Now we got some suction going, boom. Right? And X out here. Go to activity log. It's all there.
That's so cool. I wish I.
Who's the other part?
What's the part?
Like a cardiac arrest.
Is there like a
That thing? No.
Okay, it does most of the hard work.
It does the stuff, ADUs, the time, stuff like that. The only thing you really have to do is who witnessed it and the time it was witnessed. Everything else is pretty much, you can then go back to the activity log and find it from there. All right? The ideal thing to do for a cardiac arrest is, especially if you have 3 person on the crew, make somebody a scribe. Start documenting times. When I shout at you, do not document the time, all right? Quick actions. Assessment, transport. I'm starting my initial assessment. Boom. Oh look, ALS arrived on scene. Boom.
Oh, snap.
Okay, we're moving the patient. Stretcher to the ambulance. Boom.
Hey, where was this whole time?
And we're transporting. Boom. It's been here the whole time. I don't know why you guys just don't open your eyes and play around with the EMS charts.
You never tell
You never come, Jerry.
You guys didn't even ask.
How are we supposed to know?
I'm so worried about you guys just putting respirations in the chart. You can't handle this. This is expert, all right? And then you X out and it all goes in. But you know what this does do? Put respirations in the chart. So make sure you put respirations in the chart.
Not that. Cool.
Vehicle incident, all right? You're going to put it in the vehicle site, location of the vehicle, number of patients, extrication, etc. Injury details, obviously if you have an injury, you have to fill these in. Fall height. If I fell from standing, how high is the fall that I fell from? It's like a high school math question.
How tall the person is?
How tall the person is?
Zero?
A 0. I didn't fall any height,
Zero.
right?
I meant 0.
Sometimes I find really confused. Like if I put 6 feet, it sounds really bad.
It's like, let's say their head.
Yeah.
What if they fall with their
What if they fall out?
So if I jumped up and just like spun around midair and just fell? Yeah, I guess. How do I better describe this rather than just putting an arbitrary number into this feet fell thing? Where would I put standing height? In the HPI, right? So patient fell from standing height and struck his head. So you document like, yeah, it's 0 feet fall, but he struck his head at 6 foot tall and fell on the ground, right? Makes sense? This is why documentation is important. Scene, description, where do we put this? What do we put in here? Basically, when you arrive on scene, what do you see, right? BLS arrived on scene, found patient in the bedroom, second floor of the building, sitting on the bed, rabid dog in hallway, any hazards you might find, police is on scene already. It gets more descriptive with like slip and falls, yeah, there's a puddle of water by the patient, or like car accidents, spidering of the windshield of the patient's vehicle, airbag deployment, distortion of the steering wheel, blah, 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 blah. That all goes in there, right? Yes?
Okay. So what if you and your partner are both, like, let's say you have you're scared of something, like a dog or a cat, and if they're in the way of you registering.
To your famous Gina kick.
This is an actual question because I really have a fear of dogs and cats.
So if you look through the glass window to the front door and you see a dog or a cat, just take a step back. Hey, can you please remove your animal out of the way?
They're so cute.
Or you would obviously say your dog or your cat. Maybe your cat identifies as a dog. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Just say, hey, can you please put your dog or cat in another bedroom? Close the door.
What if they're like,
I'm allergic. I'm scared.
what if they can't?
So let's say they live alone and you see them on the kitchen floor. They fell. They're like, help me. And the dog's like over his body, ready to attack you. All right?
It's not safe.
Scene's not safe. What do you do?
They're so cute.
All eating it and they don't call animal control.
But in Gina's case, she like, they'll be like the cat, not doing anything, just scared.
It's a fear, Jerry. Like about it.
If you have to call cops, call the cops. If your partner can chase the cat into another room for you, have them do that. All right, other EMS, important. You're going to put other EMS agencies that are on the scene, other agencies, fire, hazmat, law, put them down. Note the patients at the scene, number of patients at the scene is important, especially for mass casualties. First agency on the scene, yes, no.
Oh, wait.
What?
For first agency on scene, if PD is on scene before you,
What's an agency?
like,
If PD don't see before, we're not the first if they're before. But we're the first to
Is the police department an agency?
yeah.
Yeah.
If you see them before you walk on scene, are they there before you? No, we're not.
No, it says first agency unit if you're the first one from Scotland on scene. So if like Chief beats you there, you're not. Or Shane beats you there, you're not. If like EMS 1 beats you there, you're not. Otherwise you are.
I
Yeah, I've always
was
done if there was like PD or fire or whatever helps you.
First agency unit.
If you go to a fire call or something and they've been there for some time, you know.
Makes sense.
I'll text Steve. We'll try to find out by the end of this thing. Because I always done it that way too.
I always did it, yeah, if like someone beat me to the scene from our agency, I put no. Otherwise, we would first one. Because PD would be another agency from us, right? And like River Road or Newmarket Fire.
We may have some in there.
All right, factors affecting care, select all factors to none. You definitely want to put that if your times are greater than, what they should be. So, national standard, you should be on a trauma scene for how many minutes? No more than 10 minutes, right? And national standard for medical scene, you should be no longer than medical scene.
Okay. 13, 20,
20, right?
25.
20 for medical, 10 for trauma. All right? So if you're above those from on-scene time to, scratch it, from at-patient time to, no, you can do on-scene time, because then you can just document that there was barriers to patient care. All right, so on-scene time to transport time, there should be a factor as to why there was a delay to care. All right? Now, how many times do you go to a trauma call and you can get off the scene in 10 minutes? Not many, right? Especially if it's a bad trauma, you have to split, you have to, do an assessment. It's rough. It's something you got to work on with your crews. All right? Maybe as you're going, start working on your crews. Talk about your crews when you first start your shift. Okay, I'm going to drive to the scene. I'll grab the carrying device. You grab the bag. You're going to do the patient assessment. You're going to handle a little tough call, this and that. Start setting up things. That way, once you get on scene, boom, 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 everything runs like a smooth oiled machine. And you can get those 10-minute transport times, all right? Yes?
If you as RMA change transportation factor to like not applicable or leave it blank.
Yeah, if you
A lot of
RMA
people
and
just
we don't
haven't done
transport,
that.
and I see this all the time because everybody's like, oh, all factors to none, this is so easy. Well, let's button it, right? Make sure you change that to not applicable because you didn't transport them. Patient movement. How did you move them to the vehicle? How did you position them in the vehicle? Moved from the vehicle from? All right, don't worry about transport size. I think it's one of those things you don't think about. You can put it if you want, but I think it's not required. We'll have these QA assessment things printed out and like in the fireman's room so you can refer back to for when you're doing your charts. Patient belongings. Is this important?
Yeah.
Yes. What do we put here? Purse. Patient's belongings.
Yeah.
Let's say they have a diamond, ring. How do we put that?
Right.
Ring. Why?
You wanna,
If it was a fake, it was a plastic diamond ring or whatever.
You don't want to add value to whatever
now
their
they can
belonging
claim for a
is.
diamond ring.
So you might be like, ooh, nice 10-carat diamond ring, but you don't know what you're talking about. And they had a little spider ring that they got from a quarter. So now if that goes missing and it does fall on us, we now have to pay a $10,000 diamond ring that we can't afford, right? So don't put value, just put cane, ring, purse, done, right?
Calendar?
From referring to receiving,
Whatever.
I think it says who you left it with. I think it's probably who you left it with. Exposure, if anybody was exposed, you put it here. Automated collision notification, you see how this pops up as kind of like the second portion of your motor vehicle accident thing? And it says like weight, body, truck, which year, model, this and that. Don't worry about it. What? You say, oh my God? Yeah, don't worry about that. You're acting like you filled it in anyway.
I did! I made my hard mind up with it! Hard was.
It was a Ford expedition.
Yeah.
Always, I don't know anything about the car.
All of a sudden you're all mechanics.
Sure.
Car roads. All right.
We're straight off when we need him.
So we did that. Neuro, airway. Neuro, lost level of consciousness. All this stuff is when you first make patient contact. All right? So level of consciousness when you first make patient contact. He was alert. If they lost consciousness en route to the hospital, do we change that? No, because he was alert when he first made contact. Where would we put the change of status? What?
Activity.
Did you say HPI? Activity log, right? Chemically paralyzed, should be no. Loss of consciousness, yes, no, unknown if they say it. Stroke scale, at the time that you made contact. Mental status, everybody selects normal, is that right? No. What are we supposed to do?
Select the order.
Oriented person, place, time, within normal limits, stuff like that, right? I think if you just select normal, it flags you. It tells you not to move send through. Now, neurological wise, you can select normal. Obviously, if they don't have any of the following neurological things. You can add comments, browse all color. If you know it, put it. If you don't worry. Pupils, fix it, put it in. If there's any pupil changes, if it's normal, you can leave as is. I do have some people, you don't change that. Immobilization, this is again prior to your arrival, right? So was he immobilized? Let's say yes. This means you already got on scene and you already had a collar on, already was on a backboard, whatever you have to do, okay? Airway, status, compromise, or open. Tube size, don't worry about depth, don't worry about. Respirations, this is before you get on scene or once you first make contact. So effort, normal, clear, clear. That's the first time you address your patient, right? Now, O2 administration. If you give 15 liters of oxygen, non-breather, do we put it here?
Activity log.
Activity log. When do we put it here? If they're normally on oxygen, if the cop gave oxygen, if somebody else gave oxygen, right? Cardiovascular, radial, just like that, it's normal. If you have a CPR patient, and I see a radial, normal pulse, I'm going to beat you up. If you have a CPR patient, and you remember to put this as, let's see, what is it? Absent? You're like, oh, Jerry's going to be proud of me. I put radial as absent. I'm going to be mad at you. Why?
Because you
Should be checking the carotid, right? Cap refill, JVD, edema, make sure that's all correct. I'm going to know that you actually go through this because you're going to have cardiac arrest patients who have less than 2 seconds cap refill. And you shouldn't have that, right? Right?
Yeah.
Secondary survey. The biggest thing on this that people are missing are skin assessments. Remember from last week, sick, not sick, the skin assessment's big. Warm, dry, or cool, clammy, diaphoretic, whatever you have to put, make sure you put a skin assessment. If they're not injured, you're still putting a skin assessment. Why? Because it's part of your assessment, correct? And then obviously if they're injured, you'd also put injuries on the diagram or whatnot. It's easier to upload it and then click the body on the online version and then do it that way than trying to do it. Follow up, don't worry about. The infamous activity log, right? Oh, look how pretty it looks with the little quick tab things, right? It's so easy. Now, new activity log. All right? Date and time, put it in. Yeah, don't worry about it. Heart rate method. Did you auscultate it? Did you palpate it? The only time I would change that is if I auscultated it, I'll mark it. SpO2, if you measured it. Blood pressure, respiration. It's a vital, put it in. Effort, put it in, right? EKG method, don't worry about. Rhythm, don't worry about. Regularity, also important, right? Regular, irregular. What does RI mean for regularity?
Okay.
What?
That's right.
No, what'd you say?
What? No, I'm joking.
What'd you say?
Regular, irregular.
You're right.
Oh, what?
Funny joke. The right answer. Now, it's regularly irregular. What does that mean?
Normally irregular.
If they have a history of atrial fibrillation, and you feel the blood pressure, it's going to be, their heart rate is going to be irregular, right? If you have an irregular heartbeat, yes. Oh, it's regularly irregular. I'm not worried. But you're noting that it's irregular, right? Lucky yes. GCS, right? 4, 5, 6. I should take the vitals, pain score. You should put that in. Comments. BLS assessed patient and assessed patient's vitals, right? Let's say the ALS took it. ALS assessed patient and assessed patient's vitals, right? Magic. So,
You look at the keyboard while you type.
oh my God. All right, so look up here, procedures, right? Assessed by procedures. It's better to do this one on the computer, so I'll show you that on the computer. Signatures. Oh, biggest thing, right? Times. Make sure you put the times in appropriately, right? If you're somebody who's not quick with the tough book, you can go on the notepad and you can, write your vitals in. 90 over 100. Do whatever you have to do, right? What? Did you not know about the notepad?
No.
You write all the information, but careful what you write or draw because it also gets uploaded in the chart. So don't, oh, my toes. He's unconscious. Like, don't do that. So, but it's something quick you can open up, write your stuff down, and then you can refer back to it and then add to the chart later on. All right?
Even if you clear it, or like you don't save it.
Well, you would save. Obviously, if you clear it, it's not going to be there.
So you can't
So you
play
try
it.
to play and you'll never know.
Don't delegate on the laptop. Signatures, blank forms, patient transfer of care. You're going to have the nurse sign this, right? Or
Oh, yeah.
another EMT if you transfer to another EMS agency, correct? Refusal form, what does this do? Specific treatment refused. What do we put here? Or
Or any specific treatment.
any specific treatment. So if they got into a car accident, they're like, oh, my neck really hurts, oh, sir, we should really put a collar on you. I don't want it. They have to sign here refusing the collar, so refused collar. If they're a chest pain patient with difficulty breathing, they're like, I don't want to be carried, I can walk. No, sir, we really should carry you, that's our protocol. No, I'm going to walk. All right, you have to sign here refusing. Refuse to be carried in a carrying device. You sign an RMA. All right? If they say, I'm not going to sign that, they refuse to sign, right? Refuse to sign. Then you need a witness signature, right? Let's say there's no witness, it's just you and the patient's refusing the stuff and he doesn't want to sign because he doesn't want to take liability. Where do you get your witness from?
Partner.
Camera?
Family member.
If there's a cop on scene, if there's not a cop on scene, where do you get your witness from?
Your partner.
Camera?
I would try to avoid getting anybody from your own crew to sign this as a witness because obviously, you can get somebody else. If there's nobody else on scene, you'd be contacting a EMS officer, right? Be your chain of command, and they'll have to try to figure out somebody else to go down there and whatnot. Your best bet is just to radio over, hey, we just need an officer here just as a witness for this documentation. All right? Yes.
So you do a refusal form, like say they refuse to have a collar on, but you're still transferred, you could still open up a patient transfer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can get a refusal and still get a transfer signature, right? So you still got that. Relationship to the patient. If the patient's signing for himself, you put self. If it's the wife, husband, whatever you have to put. Patient, this is where they sign. Witness, that's where you get a witness signature. All right? I think it's noted here that the witness signature is best practice. It is best practice to get a witness signature. All right? Obviously, if there's nobody on scene to witness, they just sign it as a regular RMA. They're cooperative. Don't go crazy. Any questions about any of that? Okay. So, we X out of this. Yeah.
When we transfer care to the hospital, we get patient signature?
No. That's only for billing. We don't bill. So, we close out. Let's say I close out. All of a sudden the chart's not here. And I'm like, oh no, I lost the chart. Right? And you're all mad because you lost the chart. And then you're like, oh, I'm never going to find I had all the information. Where did the chart go? Is it lost forever?
No.
Where did it go?
Right there.
I'm saying if it's not right there, where did the chart go?
On your online account? Or did you?
I didn't upload it.
You can check.
Huh? So, if you were working on a chart and you X out and that chart suddenly disappears, don't cry. This is how you find it. Look at the top. Who signed in? Me. Who did you list as on the chart?
Your partner.
So, if let's say I didn't sign out and sign in again, and let's say Gina was the last one signed in, and I changed the crew to myself and Jill, it's going to kick that chart out because, like, Gina's not on this crew. She shouldn't see this. And it throws it, and it's going to be found under my or Jill login. So all you have to do is X out, log into yourself, and it's going to pop up under your thing. All right? Let's say you forget to change the unit, or you do change the unit. So, no, you forget to change the unit, but you signed it under you, right? You do the same thing. The person changes it, you put it in different names, same thing will happen. They'll just kick under whoever is under the crew. So that's why it's important to change the crew and make sure you log in under your own login. All right? So the chart's not lost forever. It just got kicked under to whoever the crew was. So let's say you do this, it disappears. You're like, oh no, I don't even know who's on the other crew. Where did it go? How do you find it? Huh? How do you know who was listed on the crew as to where this chart went?
Go back to unit.
Go back to unit, right? Go back to unit. It'll tell you exactly who was on the crew, which would have been on the last chart that you started, and it will go into them. And you call them and you just say, hey, next time you're at the station, log in and just upload this chart for me. All right? How do we upload this?
Upload.
Click on it.
Click on it,
Upload and delete.
The last one.
Machine.
upload and delete. What?
Click. Okay.
So we upload, right? Woo! And then the chart disappears. Then where'd it go?
Online.
Now it went online, right? So we go into the online version.
Guys, make sure you're doing this after every call, because sometimes you guys forget or you have it on and the next crew comes in and you didn't upload the chart, and you know, one, it's annoying, you have to come down to the station and have them upload it for you, but two, it's also a HIPAA violation because now that, you know, the next crew can see everything that happened, whatever you did, all their meds, their address, and you don't want to get in trouble for that. So just do it, it's just a good practice, upload it before you leave the truck and then it's done, right?
If you can't upload it for whatever reason, just make sure you reach out to the EMS officer and tell them that you're unable to upload it due to internet problems, etc. All right.
Oh, I have a question.
One second.
6 charts.
So we're training charts in the chart I just did. So you gotta make sure you click under North Stellan, that's your agency, right? You go to patient records. And then it's going to have all your charts, etc. Then you go ahead and click on one. This is my medical training chart. You had a question?
Yeah, what happens if you get like a signature and like, you know, it just crashes or something?
You go back to the nurse and you get another signature. But that's why I brought these papers out. So let's say the tough book, for whatever reason, crashes on you, or you decided you wanted to take it to the fireman's room and do your chart, and then you left it there as you played video games or watched TV all night, and 3 in the morning a call went out and your tough book's dead. How do we do a chart? We get a signature. Paper chart, right? So you can either write everything on a notepad and then put it in the chart later, or there are some paper charts in the binders you can use, right? The biggest thing you need is this page right here, the refusal, right? Because if they do refuse, they sign there. Or you get a receiving signature. You get a receiving signature, nurses. Usually the nurse won't sign a blank piece of paper. So you should at least put like the patient's name, have them sign off, etc. And then when you come back, you would have to scan it in as an attachment. All right? If you don't know how to do that, just put it in an envelope, mark what it is, put it in the EMS office mailbox thing, and the officers will help you out next time they come in. So obviously call them and let them know, text them, let them know that it's sitting there so they know to come down and check it. All right? Any questions about that? And when we put the tough book in, right, we put it in gently, lock it in gently, right? We're not like animals, right? Just nice and easy, put it in, lock it. If it's not working, obviously something's wrong. Take a look at it. Maybe this is in the way, right? I promise you that's where it goes. All right, so practice chart, right? So CAD numbers in, base, everything's filled in, patient category, chest pain, dispatch dash chest pain, transported by BLS, ALS treat, ambulance transport code, I left it as not required. No, it's not a mass casualty, nor Stella District. Now this is from, I did this like years ago, so there might, new stuff that popped up might now be there that I didn't fill in yet, so we'll do that as we go through. It's a bar, restaurant. The reason why I put medical training chart there was because that way it would show us medical training chart, and people won't think I have a chart outstanding for X amount of years for McDonald's. But this is McDonald's, right? Requester, McDonald's manager called for the patient. Licensed signers, Robert Wood we took them to. All my times are there, right? We're good. Click on the, now what you want to do is after you upload the chart is go through every single tab. That way you make sure you're not missing anything, especially the HBI because it'll spell check for you, right? Some people can't spell.
What happened to crew roles on the first page?
What?
Crew roles. Is that like a new change?
Yeah, it's an old chart.
Oh.
So you would have crew roles now, so you could add. You added all the patient information, barriers to care, none noted, very good. Obtained from patient, I got all my stuff in there, very good. Go to page 2, it's a cardiovascular system, he's complaining about some pain. Chest pain discomfort is my impression, anatomic position is the chest. Initial patient acuity, red, final acuity, we'll go down to yellow, all right? Improved chest pain. Now, narrative. BLS arrived. So first, we'll start with the scene description because that's technically first, right? BLS arrived on scene, found patient sitting on booth, located inside McDonald's, Piscataway PD on scene, no hazards present. Simple as that. History of present illness. BLS arrived on scene, found. I wasn't done. BLS arrived on scene, found patient sitting. Patient states he was biting into his 50th chicken nugget and he began to experience severe chest pains. Patient describes chest pains as sharp mid-sternal pain, which is non-reproducible, radiating down his left arm. Patient knows chest pain is about a 7 out of 10 on the pain scale at this time. Patient states he took 1 dose of his prescribed nitroglycerin 10 minutes prior to BLS arrival, immediately when the chest pain started. Patient states when the chest pain first began, it was a 10 out of 10, but it is slightly relieved with nitro. Patient states history of cardiac stents, 1 MI, and open heart surgery. Patient states the pain feels like his last heart attack. Patient states he takes nitroglycerin and aspirin for his cardiac conditions. Patient denies any allergies. Patient states no difficulty breathing, no loss of consciousness, no other pain, no complaints. Patient 8 times 3 able to answer BLS questions quickly and accurately, shows no signs of neural deficits. HBI, right? Everything you need to know about what's going on with that patient, correct? Now, what I like to do is not only put your pertinent positives, but also note some pertinent negatives, right? So that way, later on, the patient can be like, well, actually, I told them that I was complaining about this too, they just never put it down. Now, you put patient states no difficulty breathing, no loss of consciousness, no other pain, no other complaints. Cancels out everything, correct? Then I also put patient is A&O times before now, able to answer BLS questions quickly and accurately. It shows their neural status, it shows that they're able to consent, it shows that they're able to make the proper decisions on their own. All right. Now with RMAs, sometimes they go more in depth. Patient is A&O times 4. He's able to answer BLS questions quickly and accurately, such as what date it is, where he's at, who the president is, which he replies in quotations. The date is 3/18/2019. The president is Donald Trump, and he's in Piscataway, New Jersey. End quote. That way, if it comes out to our RMA and he should have went to the hospital, and they pull it up, and then it was like, look, he was A&O times 4. He answered all these questions. It better protects yourself. All right. Non-injury, none. This you're talking about, right, Jill?
Yeah. None of that stuff was there, like cardiac arrest.
None of it?
Yeah, none of that was there.
It might have to do with what kind of outcome you put or something like that. So we have to open up your chart and look at it. Steve got back to me in regards to other agencies, and the consensus is only North Stelton units. All right? So moving forward, first agency on scene should pretty much always be yes, unless obviously another ambulance is there, EMS 1's there, or a fire truck or something like that for the chief. All right? Patient belongings, Ironman action figure, first generation Harvard spokesman card, SpongeBob notebook. Very good, right? What? Harvard, factors affecting care, all none. Make fun of it.
Put value to it.
You should put his notebook, toy, and doll. Yeah.
You go, see?
Doll.
I mean, action figure? That's all. Look what it's doing. It's actually spell checking for me. So, like, if it's wrong, I know to change it. Because some of you people can't spell. Huh? What? So we make sure all this is good. All right, we're good. Everything's filled in. Bada bing, bada boom. Go to page 4. Very good. Page 5. It's the old version. So the new version is better. I'm going to try to find this chart I just did. Hold on. Motel 6. So it shows you the body diagram. It's much easier to use. You just really click where the body is, or where the pain is, abdominal pain, right? And then it's going to ask you to select the quadrant. And then you select whatever you find, etc. Therefore, make sure you select the external skin. It's even in red. How do you guys miss this thing? It's like you just like, everything's done here, and you go on to the next page. I don't know. If they're an OB call, you click that. Make sure you fill all that in. Burns, click that. Make sure you fill all that in. And I believe if you like select the degree and like this and that, it actually fills it in for you too.
It's usually easier to do it by rule of nines.
Yeah, it really is.
And the buttons are
I don't know, it's not working. But anyway, we'll fill in, and it should show you that there's burns there. All right. Activity log. Let's go back to the training. All right. So notice how I have vitals. It looks all pretty. And not only do I put in vitals, I actually put a little information in too to help us better understand what we're doing, not just assessing vitals. So BLS assess patient vitals, patient cool diaphragm. Oh wow, temperature and condition there, right? Now, here we have BLS continued administrator of 15 liters per minute oxygen to patient via non-breather. Now, look how, you see how this says like little medication on the side here? Everybody sees that? Yeah? No? You're shaking your head no.
Right there.
You see that there's wording there, right?
With the gray line.
So what this is called, it's called a add action, I believe, right? So you select the crew, the oxygen, this and that, mask, save, and it's going to put that there. So let's say we select a different one. Here, yep, at the bottom, add action. You select as a medication, is it an airway adjunct you put in, cardiac event, immobilization. It's going to give you different. I want you guys to play with this sometime. Just look through all the lists and all the options you have. But they want you to start using the add actions. And by that, I mean like us. And by us, I mean also the state, especially with medications. All right? Why? Because it's the easier way to record the medications to be given. All right? Some people just kind of like float the medications on the scene description, like, oh yeah, I gave aspirin. Like, they don't know where exactly. They don't know where they're looking, and it's crazy. So these add actions help us out better with tracking. Okay. I also put in here stuff like moving. BLS move the secured patient to stair chair. BLS move the secured patient from stair chair to ambulance stretcher, and move the secured stretcher into ambulance. Why do I put that? Because it tells you how I moved the patient, how I got him out of the residence, out of the second floor. I also note that I secured those, so it shows that I properly did what I was supposed to. All right? And BLS, ALS transfer patient care to Robert Johnson, PR, RN. All right? I click on here. My signatures are here. I'll click here if I have to sign to lock it out. I'm good to go. And we're good from there. Now, if I click on this chart and I have a flag, it's going to pop up here. Well, first it's going to show as red, right? So it's going to show as red as a flag chart. So you click on it, what?
It's also annoying.
Charge flag for quality assurance, yeah. Charge flag. So you'll see here, well, that's only if it's submitted. So if it's still up here, that means I didn't lock this chart and it already got flagged. So something's wrong that I didn't lock it yet and they reviewed it, right? Once you lock it, it's going to be down here if they flag it. Then you click on it and you look at it up top, right? It says flags. You click on the flag, you read it. There's fix via addendum, email discussion, right? Different things. Remember those things? When do we fix via addendum?
When you have to add something.
When it's one of those critical flags or those clinical flags, and we have to add something, and Steve says, hey, fix it via addendum because you're missing it, you have to add it. You would add fix it via addendum, all right? We no longer go into the chart and just change this and that. You actually fix it via addendum, and then they see the mistake, and then the addendum is the correction for that. Email discussion might be one of those best practice things or just like a clinical thing. Hey, I see you did this. Why? Please explain. And then you have a conversation with Steve via email discussion. All right? Does everybody know our EMS Charts policy? So you know the policy. Why aren't they locked in 24 hours? Weird. So EMS Charts policy, I think we have it here. All right. The following policy issued by the Board of Fire Commissioners, District 4, Northstar Fire Company will be used to provide guidance to the members of the Northstar Fire Company with regards to completing EMS charts after EMS calls for service. For the purpose of the policy, the EMS chart is considered to be any patient care-related or EMS run report initiated after dispatch for service. This includes, not limited to, a chart initiated for any medical or trauma call, fire call, standby event, cancellation, or supervised response to any call. It will be a policy of the Board of Fire Commissioners for Northstar Fire Company that any and all EMS-related charts are to be completed, signed, and locked within 24 hours after the end of their scheduled shift of the crew riding the truck. NJAC 84036, patient care reports, NJ Office of Emergency Medical Services. A copy of the patient care report should be given to the authorized representative at the receiving healthcare facility. Hey, that back. This shall be done no later than 24 hours after completion of the call. If the charts are not completed, signed, and locked within 24 hours allotted by this policy, the Board of Fire Commissioners of Northstar Fire Company authorizes the EMS Captain Chief to follow the remaining items in this policy in order to ensure the charts are completed, signed, and locked in a timely manner. If a chart goes uncompleted, unsigned, unlocked longer than 24 hours, the EMS crew members responsible for the chart will no longer accumulate hours. The EMS Captain Chief has the authority to withhold time credit for each crew member listed on the chart for that shift. At this time, the EMS Captain will evaluate the chart. If one or more crew member has completed, signed, and finished the chart to the best of his or her ability with a allotted 24 hours, that the crew member will be credited with the hours for that shift. Only the crew members who have not completed, signed the chart to the best of his or her ability will be docked the time credit for that shift. Should a crew member complete, sign, and lock a chart after 24 hours time frame, they will be credited half of the shift with the discretion of the Captain Chief. Within the first 5 days of each month, the EMS Captain Chief or his designee will send out notices to the EMS staff notifying them of open charts for the previous month. At this time, any member who gets a notification about an open chart has to acknowledge the notification and sign it to emscharts.com and complete all open charts. Any member that has an open chart longer than 6 months after multiple attempts to contact the member by the EMS Captain Chief shall be reported to the NJ State Department of Health Office of Emergency Medical Services. The Board of Fire Commissioners Northstar Fire Company fiscal year ends October 31st, and variety percentage due for clothing allowance reimbursement by the end of November. Any docked time credit for open charts after 23:59 hours on November 1st will remain docked, and end of year percentages for clothing allowance reimbursement will be calculated as is. Any flagged charts must be addressed by the member at the end of the next shift or within 30 days, whichever comes first. Flagged charts address serious concerns or errors that must be addressed before sending the chart to the state. Due to the seriousness of this matter, if the flag chart is not addressed in a timely manner, as addressed above, members will be issued disciplinary action as per the company bylaws. What does that mean? It means please do your charts. There's no reason, yes, we picked up with call volume a little bit, but there's no reason why we do 2-3 calls in a night and charts are not being done for 2-3 weeks on end. All right? You should be coming back from the call, doing your chart, going over with your crew, signing, locking it, being done. All right? All charts should be done by the end of the shift. maybe it was a bad call, so if you don't call, you need some more time to go over this and that, so be it. You have 24 hours, all right? What I do is after I upload from mobile, when I'm at the hospital, I'll upload it, and we have internet in the ambulances, so I open up Internet Explorer, and I do the chart on the online version. So the 15 minutes it takes to get back from the hospital, you're working on your chart, right? With that, you will be docked hours. The officers are going to be more on top of it. The team's going to be more on top of it. If you're not completing, if the charts are staying unlocked and whatnot, you're going to start losing your hours. All right. Everybody was happy with the very nice reimbursement checks I got at the end of the year. All right. It's not going to look that nice if you have a bunch of open charts or you're not doing your charts within 24 hours. All right. If you have any issues as to why you can't do the charts within 24 hours, reach out to an EMS officer, and we'll try to discuss as to why we can't do this, and we'll figure it out from there. I actually have to make sure all my charts are done by the end of my shift at work. All right, and I have 12-hour shift, and we do like 20 plus jobs, and all those charts are done by the end of my shift. All right, so if I can do that while answering other jobs, you guys should be able to do that answering 2 or 3 jobs in 12 hours. It shouldn't be an issue. All right. Answering flags. You have until the next shift when you come in to answer flags. The reason why we do that is so you answer the flags when you're down here. If you don't have a login, reach out to me, text me. All right. If you don't have a login to the computer, I'll get you a login from the computer guy, or you might already have one, you just don't know about it. So I'll text you the information. You should be working on EMS charts here at the building because it's technically a violation of HIPAA if you do it on a personal laptop or at home, something like that. All right, because now that's patient information on your laptop, etc. If you're doing it at home, let's say you get up, you go to use the bathroom, and a family member walks over and looks, it's a HIPAA violation, right? So we should be very cautious of when we're doing charts, where we're doing them, what we leave open, and especially with EMS charts, mobile, come back from the call, log out. But I still have 11 hours left on my shift. Log out. When you come back, log back in. Why? Because now somebody else can open up a chart and, oh, well, it's not detrimental, they can't, there's no patient information. I uploaded all the charts. Well, I can start a new chart, go to patient, look up patients, type in the last name Smith. Now I have all the information for the people in our system with the last name Smith, right? So, for HIPAA reasons, we have to make sure we start logging out, doing the charts here, more on top of the charts, locking them within a reasonable amount of time, etc. For the members who, let's say, go on vacation or aren't riding for whatever reason, they're not going to be back in within a week, you have 30 days to do it. Find the time to come down and do it. All right? Officers are going to be reaching out to you. Obviously, if this is a habit, you will be dealt with via verbal written suspension. So, all right? This is very important. Any questions about that? Everybody understands? All right. I believe that was everything. You guys have anything else you need to ask about charts? All right. If you have any questions about charts, like I said, feel free to ask myself, Alicia, Jeff. If something's going wrong with the tough book, you have to revert back to these are the binders, get a signature that way, then you'll upload the chart, or recreate it on the chart, and then go ahead and do that. That way, make sure the charts are done within 24 hours. I can't stress that enough, all right? They've been pretty lenient over the years with letting you guys go, week, 2 week, 3 weeks, sometimes longer. Steve took over maybe March 1st, and he found charts from 2018, so that's not good. All right, so we have to make sure we're on top of those charts. We have to make sure we're on top of answering the QA flags too. All right. When answering a QA flag, like I said, you're not in trouble. It's not anything nasty. It's just that you missed something. Be respectful over the QA flag, because obviously whatever you reply back stays with the chart. So don't give attitude. Don't do anything you're not supposed to. This and that. Just write back. Fixed. Period. Done. Period. As long as you obviously completed it, correct? Or, okay, I understand this, or answer the email, okay, I thought it was this and this, etc. Whatever you have to do, be respectful. If you can't be respectful, call Steve directly, or call the EMS officer, and talk to them over the phone, right? So that way it doesn't get stuck on the chart forever. So if you think it's going to be this long, drawn-out thing where you're going to argue with the person, just talk to them on the phone, all right? Because you don't want a long email discussion going back and forth on this chart as to why, Ms. Johannesson banged your toe and you didn't document the respirations. Any other questions about that? Some patients you might encounter might say, no, like, I don't want you to touch me. Just take me to the hospital. All right, just sign here then. They're refusing treatment assessment, right? They can do that. Make sure you get consent. Sir, I'm going to take your vitals. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay. Don't just grab their arm and start taking your vitals. Alicia, you have anything else?
24 hours, like it's a state rule, it's our, it's our policy as well, and it's fresh in your mind. How many, like, if I ask you guys about a call we had, like, even a month ago, like, how many of you guys are going to remember it, like, enough to fill out a chart completely? So just get it done. Like, I understand if you guys have schoolwork and stuff. If you have to take it home, like, I'd suggest using, like, a private browser mode just so the fields don't start saving. So remember, I wasn't doing that, and I typed in A, and I get, like, 5 patients. I was like, oh, that's not good. So just clear your history, and then use, like, a private browser, like incognito, or, like, private mode on Safari or something, so fields don't save. Yeah, also just be really careful with, like, HIPAA. Like, even if, like, you guys stop to get food, and, we don't really lock our ambulances, but if you're still logged on to the tough book, someone can see the chart. So just upload it whenever you're leaving the tough book. All right. Yeah, and any issues, like, we'll work with you. Like, if you're like, oh, this field isn't working, like, it won't let me lock, like, I don't know. Like, just let us know and give us enough time to, like, try to help you. Like, if you let us know, we're not going to have issues. But if you're not and it becomes a habit, we're going to have to, like, talk about it. Right? Any questions?
No, we all got that? Unfortunately, half the company for EMS didn't show up, so if you see them on your cruise, go over what you learned today. Spread the word.
We're all here. Tuesday nights.
What?
Tuesday nights.
Tuesday night.
Tuesdays.
Oh yeah, also if a chart's done, guys, and your partner didn't get a chance to, like, do it, just make sure you sign it, right? So we know that you completed it. And also don't be mean and just sign the chart when it's not done. Like, look it over, and you also, you don't
Oh
want to,
yeah, that's another thing.
yeah, you don't want to.
Your names are both on the chart, so like, if I'm writing the chart and you're like, well, I gotta, this is 24 hours, I'm just gonna sign it. Okay, it's signed, whenever you're done, you're done. And then like, I wouldn't do that. I'm not saying not
there's a lot of
all,
things that could go wrong.
But mind you, your name's also on that chart. So if your partner, for whatever reason, forgot something or put something that shouldn't be there, you're going to be held liable. So the point is, your partner's going to write the chart, sign it, chart's done, you log on, you see his signature, you know he's done. So then you review it, right? Make sure they didn't miss anything, and then you sign and lock it, all right?
If you have an issue with, like, anyone that's habitually doing that, like, let us know, because that's not good for them. It's gonna hurt.
If you see somebody like habitually, like you have to go in and like they say the chart's done, and you have to constantly like change this, because they're missing this. Let us know. We'll talk to them and we'll decide. Just like I talked to all of you for missing respirations, right?
And the other thing is, like, before you lock the chart, you can, like, test lock it just to see what you're missing, and like, let you know what flags come up, so your partner doesn't have to, like, sit there and be like, oh, now I have to go change this, I have to go change, like, just do it, just to make it a little smoother. So once it's done, it's done.
And if you do that, it might come on the red, like on the side there. It comes up with a list of things you missed. Red means like it's not going to lock unless you have it completed and whatnot. Those are usually nemesis codes. Some of them are worded really weird. If you read carefully, you can kind of figure out where they're looking and whatnot. If you don't understand it, just take a picture, send it to myself, and we'll tell you exactly where it looks.
And one of the main, one of the main things is on the secondary survey page, you have to change the assessment time to 1 minute after add patient, or else it's not gonna lock, like, at all. It's just gonna, like, keep giving you the error, and you're gonna get really frustrated. But that's the one major thing that seems to happen.
Usually have one.
Yeah.
I forgot if someone here told me this, well, probably, but, like, they said, like, whoever the primary caregiver is, like, that should be the main person writing the chart. Is that true?
So whoever's in the back of the ambulance with the patient going to the hospital should be the person writing the chart. Now, I've also had drivers like, I drove, I don't know what happened. You're on that crew, you should know
Yeah.
exactly what happened. Like, just because you're a driver doesn't mean you should be oblivious as to what occurred. Now, obviously, you wouldn't know what happened in the back of the ambulance because you weren't there, you were driving, but you should still know what's going on with your patient, et cetera. The HPI portion. So you can at least review that, you can at least review what you did on the scene, et cetera. The person in charge of the chart would be the person in the back of the ambulance doing the chart, and then the driver would be correct.
And one thing to add, I'm sorry, one thing to add to that is what things were like actually like not related to what's in the back of the ambulance. Literally everything but the activity log, like a driver can fill out. So if you're driving or, you know, really the activity log is the one place where you do things after you got on scene. You might not have an idea. For the most part, everything else is initial, like we're on scene, what happened. So if they're giving you a hard time about that, also let us know and we'll talk to them.
I had like an instance where I was like the second, and I wrote the whole chart. I wrote the first one in, and like completely changed like every single thing. Like,
That has happened to me.
yeah,
Do they change it for the better, or do they just?
like,
Like how we went over this, it was completely different.
Yeah.
The whole narrative was in the activity log, and then the HPI was one sentence. Everyone?
So if you write your chart, and then you go in, and they completely wrote your chart over again, and for whatever reason took out what you did, and like, it's not like you were missing anything, you did that, tell the EMS officer, and they'll talk to that person. Because I can see if they maybe add a line here that you forgot, add a line there, maybe you worded something better for like a better wording, but the fact that they just delete everything that you worked, you know, the last hour on, and just wrote their own version, then
Yeah, that's not.
I can see turning around and being like, well, you can write it.
It just be
Obviously.
like, yeah, just do it.
But just let us know, we'll talk to them.
I think I mean, yeah, it's like they signed it before I did the chart, and then they went back and changed everything, and I was just like, okay.
So on time, you know, it's only 8:56.
Kinda weird. Any other questions about that? Oh, you're everything?
Okay, copies of the policy and like the guide are going to be posted in the, on the, you know, little cork board outside the EMS office. And if you want a copy for yourself, the radio room printer works now, so make a copy. Right?
Just go through it, make sure you're getting everything, you're not missing anything. Like Lesha said, pre-lock it, try to see what you're missing. Because I got a lot of texts saying, oh, chart's done, and I go to lock it, and I have to go back and change one thing or one thing here. So just pre-lock it, see if you're missing anything, fill it in, go from there, all right? Biggest thing is making sure these charts are done within 24 hours. They're done completely, accurately. Let's try to improve the HPIs and the activity logs. And basically that's what Steve's there for, especially with clinical QA. All right, you'll get QA saying, make sure you do this, this, and that. Unfortunately, we can always go on every single call with you guys, so we can't see you guys on scene. But at least like through the charts, we'll be able to start picking up on some of the things you're doing and maybe correct and better your skill sets as well through charts. All right? Good? Thank you.